Hello everyone. Happy Monday. How we doing? You guys good? You guys happy? That's all I really want. Just know that you guys are happy. Did you enjoy yourselves yesterday? We are live for another fresh week of content, as promised. And I really didn't know what I was going to do today, so I went and had a little look at about what's coming up. And obviously, next weekend there's a lot of Horus Heresy and some MESBG stuff coming out. So this week we're going to be doing some Horus Heresy and some MESBG, I think, just to be relevant. And one of the things I'm going to do is try and get Mortarion, Primarch of the Death Guard, done. And we've got him here. And if we go to the overhead, you should be able to see him now. Wow! There he is. So we're going to be trying to get him painted up to this week, because that's something that we've been meaning to do for a while. It's been primed in 2 different colours. We've got Wraithbone and Gracia going on here, so we're going to try and get the filming of that started today. There is another thing we do need to do, which is to do a bit of basing on this happy chappy, the Tormentor Bombard, for the Hellsmith of Hashut. So we're actually just going to start with that very quickly, and then we're going to do Mortarion. Because realistically, the main thing I have to do is put some Targal Raid Shade all over that base. For that, I require a brush. Which one of these is my brush? Ah, there it is. That'll do. Not ASBG, unsubscribe. I'm sorry, I do have to vary the content every now and then. There is going to be some MESBG this week, though. Don't worry about that. I'm going to try and finally get Gandalf done, and I might even, depending on how time goes, I might even try and get the horses done as a big old horse video. Which, if that's a 2-parter with the Royal Guard as well, that is a phenomenal amount of models to get painted in a week. So my eyes might be a little larger than my stomach. But we shall have to see. We'll have to see what the week brings us. Because I do not have Helm Hammerhand and his family. Games Workshop did not send them to me. So I'll be waiting in the queue with everybody else. Bright and early Saturday morning. Today's been a bit of a building day. That's why I haven't been able to do this. But this has been at the top of my priority list to do today. After last week, we obviously spent a lot of time with the Hellsmith of Hashut, doing lots and lots of painting. And I was like, I just want to have most of the day off from them. Because this week, you will get to see Contrast Plus, How to Paint, Infernal Cohort, War Despot, Tormentor Bombard, this guy, and the Dominator Engine. So there is a lot of Hellsmith of Hashut content coming down the pipe. I realise I didn't spend a lot of time on the intro today. I will come and talk to you guys properly, but I just jumped in and started painting, and now I can't finish until I've done all of the Targal Raid Shade. Which is fun, isn't it? So stack up your questions whilst I'm doing this. And your important any other business, as it were. We're actually nearly there already. A shiny virtual penny goes to the person who can guess what we dry brush this with, though. A little hint, the answer is incredibly obvious and very predictable. I think I got most of it. Ah, nearly. I missed a tiny little patch. Got it. There we go. We are groovy. Actually, no, there's various little patches I've missed. There's one. Haha. Lol. Okay, we're good to go now. We can dry brush it with a sense of duty and ennui. Yeah, that's correct. That is correct. Right, I'm here. Let's say hello to you all properly. Good evening, Josh, all you beautiful people in chat. What a great Tales episode yesterday. So many credible entries. I completely agree, Colonel. Hello, Colonel. Hello, Tiago. The Tattooed Zoologist. Fake Street Spirit. Swennels. Captain Manrings. Yamail Angmar. Fake Street Spirit. Hello. Pridders. Dominic V. Zara. Hello. David Hill. Hello. Dominic V. Ricky Drinks Paints. Hello. Worst Painter here. Hello. Chris Lawton. Hello. Evar Greyfist, hello. Mr. Drafterpants, hello. GameX, hello. Afternoon. Mark Watson, hello. Chris Cosmo, hello. Lee, hello. Mr. Gwatkin, hello. How are you doing? Not Tyrant Skull, I'm sure. Yeah, it's definitely not Tyrant Skull. Hello, Bradley. How you doing? I for sure thought they would send you Helm and Freyalaf. I hoped that they would, but they did not. I do not have Helm and Freyalaf. I will have to wait until 2 weeks after. I'll have to do them in mid-October. It'll be a race between myself and all of you guys to see who can get them done first. Unless they come into stores at the same time as something like the rest of the Hellsmiths of Hashut, in which case you guys will win that race. Episode 69. Nice. Yes, we are on episode 69 of Me Time Mondays. Can you believe it? We've done 69 episodes. How were the mold lines for Hashut? Perfect, Chris. They were absolutely spectacular. In that they were non-existent. They are beautiful. Honestly, the Hellsmiths of Hashut box might be one of the best boxes I've ever put together of miniatures. And of course, mileage may vary. My experience might not be the same as yours, because, you know, sometimes I get a box and it's coated in the thickest of mold lines possible, and then a bunch of people in the comments say mine was absolutely fine, don't know what we're talking about, you're a noob. And I'm like, great. Here's the video evidence, but never mind. But there it is. There's nothing I can do about it. But yeah, as a box, it was an absolute dream to build. If you want to have a good look at the sprues, my sprue review video is out now. It came out on Saturday. You should have a good long look at each of those sprues and how long it takes to build the miniatures. They're in really good nick. Very, very, very nice set of models and miniature guides. Hello, Lucas. Demogorgon, good afternoon. How are you? Will you be doing some other Hellsmith schemes? I would like to do some other Hellsmith schemes. This is the eternal battle between content versus my own selfish desires, you see. Because I love Age of Sigmar. I love Age of Sigmar armies, and I love collecting Age of Sigmar armies. And so when a box like that comes through, I'm torn 50-50, right? There's the content creator who doesn't care, who does a bunch of different schemes with them because they're not going to play with them, as it were. And then there's me, who cares very much about my armies looking a certain way. So I was like, I've got to paint them all one colour because I want them to all be from the same ziggurat, I think is what they're called. Because I intend to have a Hellsmiths of Hashut army. That being said, when they all come out individually, I will try and pick up an Infernal Cohort box and do the other three schemes that are in the box. But I just wanted to have a lovely cohesive set of miniatures just for me, because I love my armies. It will be a race between the new releases 3 weeks from now. Well, that's the question, isn't it? What is coming out 3 to 4 weeks from now? I have no idea. You have no idea. Will Games Workshop even send them to me? I don't know. They didn't send me these. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm out. Maybe I'm out of the maybe I'm out of the program and I just haven't been told. Maybe I haven't done enough MESBG content, so maybe we should do much more. Who can say? I have so much I could do just on my desk alone. I've built 15 horses, as you guys know. We did that last Wednesday. I figure I'm going to do 5. I'm going to spray 5 of them Wraithbone, 5 of them White Scar, and 5 of them in Greyseer, and we'll have 15 different horse combinations. Some that use the same paints to get a different vibe because we've got a different color underneath the top, as it were. But yeah, the Ultimate Contrast Plus guide to horses. Hopefully, we can get that filmed this week. But then that does, like I said earlier, that does mean that I probably will have to do Royal Guard, Riders of Rohan, and as a part 2 to that video at some point. I mean, I'll want to do it for completion's sake because I love them. Where are we at? Took every fibre of my being not to say it, but I knew somebody would. Well, look, we're on Me Time Mondays part 69 today. If we could get to 69 likes on the channel, that would be a spectacular. That would be lovely. That's what we could do that together. Opinions on the recent influx of Ultramarine and new Jump Captain reveals. That's a good question, Demogorgon. So, I have long been a campaigner in the 10th edition phase that we're in. That new stuff is better than redesigned stuff. And what we've got here, with the Ultramarines is Cato Sicarius is a redesign of Cato Sicarius. Okay, fine, is what it is. He's a Primaris scale version of himself. The Victrix Guard are a redesign of their old one, you know, that old lovely Marneus Calgar and Honor Guard box that was around for a long, long time. First in metal, then fine cast. So that's, you know, par for the course for what's been for 10th edition. What I was not expecting, but perhaps probably should have been because he used to be in Terminator armor, was seeing a redesign of a redesign. That was something I did not have on my bingo card. So in many ways, I should be overjoyed that I did not expect to see a Marneus Calgar, because I did not think they would redo Marneus Calgar less than 8 years after when they did him the first time. And yet, here we are. So, interesting. I cannot wait to see what the 11th edition codex for Space Marines contains. If a supplement comes from the Ultramarines, does it include Marneus Calgar in Gravis armor and Marneus Calgar in Terminator's armor? Does Marneus Calgar in Gravis armor, is he going to Legends? I don't know. We just don't know. Will he have a upgradable war gear on his profile that costs an additional 20 points? Yeah, who knows? That's my opinion. I think it's a little silly, but there we go. I cannot wait to see Dante in Terminator armor. That would be very funny. Hello, Lisu3000. Hello, Michal. That's the correct logic. You also built a buttload of elves. I haven't. I built half a pack of those horrible Finecast ones and haven't done the others yet. A Griffhound one would be nice for those wacky green and yellow schemes. Oh, as in a Ultimate Contrast guide to Griffhounds. Or just contrast plus how to paint Griffhounds. That is something we could do, I suppose. I haven't done that. It's been a while. I'll figure it out. I do have 6 Vanguard Paladors to do, but they're Griff Chargers. I actually have 6 Vanguard I have 6, Vanguard Paladors and 3 Stormstrike Paladors to do. I have a lot of Stormcast Cavalry in boxes. Be interesting. Do you like the Bannerman though? Everyone loves the Banner. No, I love it. So that old iteration of Marneus Calgar and his Honor Guard, it's brilliant because it has the Chapter Champion, even though there's no reason for him to exist because Cato Sicarius used to be the Chapter Champion. Weird choice, but there we go. We just move on. And the Banner of McCrag was really cool. And then there was always a dude just with a, I think he had a sword. He might have had an axe at the time. Either way, I think you know, that is the best iteration we've ever had of Marneus Calgar. It's a lovely, wonderful, characterful unit for Ultramarines. The interesting thing is they said it's not the end of things that are coming for the Ultramarines, so maybe finally we'll actually get back to the Tyrannic War that we're going on, and maybe the Tyrannic War veterans will be on their way. Maybe Ultramarines will become a supplement in and of themselves. Who can say? We have no idea, don't know what's going on. And I'm just along for the ride as always. That's just the way it is. Who can say? 2 Calgars and no Gabriel Seth leaves a bad taste in the mouth. That's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying for so many months. Whoa. Got to be a signal of war gear coming back. Look, I mean, it's a possibility, but then at the same time, there is a data sheet in each of the codex for Captain, Captain with Jump Pack, Captain in Phobos armor, Captain in Terminator armor. I don't think it's more likely that you'll just see 2 data sheets. I would reckon. I really reckon. Dante with wings instead on only a jetpack, maybe. Dante in the nude. Who could say? He basically is. It's just gold armor, but you can see all of his toes. You know? Drukhari 2 models, Space Marines 3 models, perfectly balanced. The interesting thing with the Drukhari is some of those models aren't actually too bad in comparison to, like... Well, I mean, I've said this for a long time about most of the redesigns that have happened throughout the entirety of 10th. The thing that's interesting, I think, with Drukhari is I could definitely see them being in the core box for 11th edition. I think I could see... So here's my conspiracy theory. Come with me on a journey if you like. If you don't like, just leave a like on the stream and, you know, go and do something else just for the moment. But here's my conspiracy theory, okay? Here's where I'm at. I think if you look to Age of Sigmar, all of the box art Stormcast Eternals are Hammers of Sigmar, except for the ones that aren't. So Taunus the Redeemed, Guard of Steel Soul. They are Hallowed Knights because they belong to the Hallowed Knights. Everything else, Hammers of Sigmar. It's painted in gold, okay? Now, for the first time in a very long time, and especially the first time in Age of Sigmar, a core box dropped with Stormcast in it that were not gold. They were silver. But that was not the box art for all the stuff that came out. So, here's my conspiracy theory for 40k. It's an 11th edition core box will be a revisiting of an old classic. That the baddies in it will be the Drukhari. And that the goodies in it will be generic Space Marines painted as Black Templars. And that is a reference back to the 3rd edition box, which many of us remember and love. I think I could see that. And I could see it being new Witches, new Cabalites, and maybe some other, some form of lumpy horror. I don't know, something like that. And then the Space Marine side will be whatever the Space Marine side is going to be. Maybe a new tactical squad, because Primaris Marines doesn't matter anymore. They've completely removed that distinction, because who cares? Marnius Calgar crossed the Rubicon Primaris, and it was a big deal, except now he's got a second model, and there's no mention of the fact that he crossed the Rubicon Primaris, so it is what it is. Terminators, these are not Primaris Terminators, they're just Terminators. Primaris distinction is gone. Below the Blade with a £10 super chat. Thank you so much. Hello, Mr. Warhipster. Hope you're well. Was curious if you tried the Tooth in Coats coloured metallics. I use Emperor's Purple and Omega Blue for my Emperor's Children and Alpha Legion, and they're superb. I have not checked them out below the Blade. I have some Tooth in Coats paints. I have the starter paint set. They're very expensive, and I haven't bought them all because space is at a premium in this house. And I very much am a goldfish. If I can't see something, I forget it exists. Because I have I have all the speed paint, for example. I never use it because it's in a box. I don't really want to use it either. But same for the Vallejo Express colours. And if they were out, I think I might reach for them a little bit more often. But we shall see. Hopefully, when we move, I'll have the space to have all of my paints on display. Which would be amazing for me. And for you guys. Maybe you'll see more products on the channel. Who knows? I am always open to sponsorships if anybody's watching. You'll always get a fair deal from me. Rabbit Squirrel 22 Ben has been a member for 8 months. Yay, Mortarion, been eagerly waiting on this one. Thank you very much for being a member for 8 months, Rabbit Squirrel. That's very kind of you. Crimson Fists versus Orcs, a real throwback, I reckon. That's a possibility. Could be Crimson Fists versus Orcs. The only reason I would maybe doubt that is I think it would be a little confusing for some people to see everything painted blue as Ultramarines, but then the core box has a slightly darker blue in their Crimson Fists, if you see what I mean. I feel like that just causes more questions for the new people who discover the box, if you see what I mean. We shall have to see. We shall figure it out. Anarcho Cassidy, new subscriber here, fan of 40k since 2011. Well, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for subscribing. You're the best. You're my favourite, along with 91,476 other people. But wait, are we getting rules for all of the Space Marines lieutenants as lieutenants, as GW loves to put tons of those out? I don't think they, to be fair, in their defense, they haven't put out a lieutenant for a while now. It has been a long old while, and when there wasn't even one... Oh, no, there was. There was one in Leviathan. The Lone Survivor. I stand corrected. Maybe. Who's your favourite chapter? My favourite chapter would be the Blood Angels, by dint of having so many thousands of points of them. Also, I do adore them. I like painting red. Red's one of my favourite colours to paint. I think Drakari are too niche for a new edition box. Depraved elves and spandex just won't appeal to little Timmy or their parents buying it for him. Maybe bugs don't. Necrons. Death Guard. I know everyone says that they think that the starter set's going to be orcs, and it's like, yeah, but orcs have had like 29 new model kits in the last 6 years. I can't see it. I'm happy to be proved wrong, but I don't see orcs. Sponsorship, you say? So you're saying someone needs to sponsor Corridors of Thran-Daddy? No, no one needs to do that. When do you think you'll do a Moomakill painting video? When I can summon the strength to look at that model again after it nearly killed me building it. The reason my money is on Drakari is because their release is really small. Obviously it's Lady Malice and the Archon, and that's it. I think if their release had been a lot bigger, I would have been like, well, now I have no idea. But because it is Drakari and there's so much of it that needs to that could do with being updated in the same way that the Eldar did, I could see it. Basically, that's why my money's on them. That's what my thinking is. Good evening, Pit 2 number 42. Right. Oh. Let's give this a vigorous dusting, shall we? Let's use this brush. He's been on the sidelines for a while as old Morty. We'll have to do a bit of studying to figure out how it is we're going to actually paint this guy. I don't actually anticipate him being particularly difficult to do, but we'll have to see. I remember him being a pain to build. You go on that one. Okay. Let's have a look. Mortarion. We want to look at, not the Demon Primarch, we want Reaper Primarch. Mortarion the Reaper, Primarch of the Death Guard. Ooh, he's very warm. He's very dirty as well. Grim. Why is there no green? No green at all. Oh, they're there. Okay, so He's basically just covered in yuck, isn't he? It's interesting. Right. Over to YouTube. How did Josh paint? Death Guard. From the Horus Heresy. Death Guard. There we are. There we are. Okay. So, kick things off with Mortarion Grime. Makes sense. Then Seraphim Sepia. Also makes sense. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. Well done, me from the past. Gotta love me from the past. He's so useful sometimes. Right, let's see. That looks like a good distance on the camera. Let's just check it. Yeah, that seems good to me for painting him. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, you ready? Should we kick things off? Should we get this show on the road? Should we do this? Mortarion Grime. There you are. Plans be formulating. Alright, let's go like this. And like that. And then we bang it across to this. Whoa-hey. Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial from the Age of Darkness. Yes, we return to the time of the Horus Heresy once more with another Primarch. We have Mortarion, the Reaper, Primarch of the Death Guard. Here he is. And, well, he's been in the to-do queue for quite a while, and it's time to get on with him, I suspect. So, a little bit about him before we get started. He has been primed in Wraithbone, and his base has been primed in Grey Seer. You don't have to do that, but I wanted this to be a little bit colder than over here because we need the warmth for how grubby he is. So we needed to do that in Wraithbone. But I just wanted this to be a little bit grimmer, a little bit darker over here on the base, which is why we've gone for Grey Seer. Like that's why we've kind of divided it into two. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint all of Mortarion, and then we'll paint his scenic base afterwards. And on that note, the colour that we're going to be using first is, rather aptly, Mortarion Grime. And we're going to be applying this over top of all of Mortarion's armour, excluding his shoulders. I'm going to do those slightly differently because they're quite pale in the box art. But for now, we're just going to get this over the top of the rest of Mortarion's power armour. Just like this. And as always, just want to take it a section at a time. Be nice and methodical to get a nice smooth coat of this. Of course, it doesn't ultimately matter for someone like him because of how grubby he is. But if we do get a nice consistent smooth coat of this over the top of the entirety of the armor, it means we have a lot of control later on when it comes to adding the grime. Which is funny, because this is Mortarion Grime. Crushed it. Best content creator in the world. So what are you guys working on today? Who knows? Maybe we'll get Gilliman done as well. I need to build him. I started building him last night, but I didn't get very far. Some Eandan Guardians tonight. Nice. Hello there, I loved your Canoptek Circle video and wanted to replicate it with a purple colour scheme. I did have a few Vallejo Express paints that I tried. Got very weird pooling. Got any suggestions? Yeah, I mean, depending on the type of purple you want to go for. I think if I was to do the purple vibe, I would probably go for Luxion Purple followed by Black Templar. Ultimately, the Black Templar going over the top of any colour, really all you're looking for it to do is be transparent enough to show through on the edges. So it doesn't really matter if the purple is a bit pooly or a bit scratchy. Like my Orc Flesh certainly was when I did the Canoptek Circle. But yeah, that's probably how I would do it. The other option, of course, is to use, depending on what vibe of purple you want, because you then want to kind of highlight it with sort of a warmer purple when you do it that way. So probably something like either Cacophony Purple or another purple. Can't think of another purple. Not Nagaroth Knight, that's way too dark. But if you go down the Shyish Purple followed by Black Templar route, you can then highlight it with Demonette Hide and the other one, Slanesh Grey, to get a kind of cold purple highlight, which we have done before. If you look up my old How to Paint Black Templars video from a few years ago, I do that there. It's a purple vibe on that one. What about the rest of the belt? Oh no, that's black. Interesting. Cool. There we go. I've almost done his entire legs. Yay for legs. don't use Mortarion Grime very often. I think it was one of my favourite shades from the new reformulated range, but it doesn't come up very often. Or at least I've found it doesn't come up very often in the colour schemes. Maybe I should make an effort to try and force it in a bit more. It is a lovely colour. It's just like the sad version of Seraphim Sepia, basically. I mean, Seraphim Sepia is going on this model afterwards anyway, but you get it. Oh. Yes, that bit is grimy as well. Where else are we? On the arms. That's one thing I've always found funny about some of the Horus Heresy models, and sometimes you see it in 40k as well, is when you have Space Marines with chainmail. It's like, what is that doing? Come on now. And Morty has got quite a lot of chainmail on him. He doesn't have, by the looks of things, he doesn't have like the fiber bundles and stuff in the joints. He's got chainmail in the joints, which is quite amusing to me. I'm nearly there though. What's the vibe on the back here? Yeah. And then the backpack is pretty much all cool. Oh, that's armor. It's always with this first bit when I'm painting a model like this, just making sure that you've got all the armor. Is most of the battle. Like, I'm fairly convinced for the rest of this, like the cloth, it's going to still be Mortarion Grime that we apply over the top of it. But it needs to, the armor needs to come down in color, and the whiter details needs to go up in color, as it were. It's an interesting challenge, this one. You know, I talk a lot on Taylor Many Warhipsters, for example, about the balance of a model, and this one is a challenge. Because he's got pale bone dirty armor with a dirty white cape, and that's the two colors that don't normally sit next to each other and are in fact effective to look at usually. damn it, we're going to have to try, because you guys are so good at doing that. On A Tale of Many Warhipsters. I just want to be good at my job. Which I recognise I'm not being right now by sitting doing this, but as I said earlier, with the Targor Raid Shade on the base, once you get started, you have to finish. But I have, once I've done this hand, finished applying the Mortarion Grime. There we go. Gorgeous. Lovely. Lovely south. Chris is working on his Will to Core Hunters. I'm working on basing my manifestations and starting my last zombie dragon. Nice. Still working on the Sangheili Mercenaries, and yesterday I finished my Deathcore Krieg 149th Regimental Scarecrow. Love it. Mangler Squigs, just finished the base with dirt I gathered and baked and wanted something different than Sterling Mud. Something different than Sterling Mud. It exists! About to start building my Grey Hunters that arrived today. Lots of Space Wolf fans. I endorse that. I like it. Hello, Edward. How are you? Any plans to paint the new Palanite Enforcers coming out soon, or no Necromunda plans? I don't have any Necromunda miniatures. And that's usually the first stop in being able to paint them. So glad you let GW release the rest of the War of the Rohirrim minis. Yeah, I did such a good job of it that they didn't send it to me because I'm not in control of them, Thomas, for the last time. Managed to get the 4th edition launch box exclusive metal Autarch, so treating myself to painting him after this Guardian squad. Nice, nice. What was the theme for next month's Tales again? You mentioned it yesterday but can't remember. It is Earth, Wind and Fire. Do you remember? September. Etc, etc, etc. Doing hobby admin tonight and planning my next few projects. Now I have 1K of wolves finished. Nice. Awoo. Do you have tips for painting faces, especially how to use flayed one flesh as a highlight? Do you have to thin it a lot? No more so than you normally do. Realistically, there's if you look at my face. Hi. Here's my face. So if I do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a typical Space Marine face, and I'm going to show you where you need to highlight, okay? Alright? It's going to be weird for all of us, but just try and enjoy this as much as I'm going to hate doing it. So I'm just going to point, right? So here's where you need to highlight with flayed one flesh in order to, as a tip for doing faces, right? So here's a Space Marine face of this. Huh? Huh? Hair, 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 like that. How's that? I'll do it again. Huh? 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 Ha, 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 ha. It's the best way to show you. That is the kind of content that you guys subscribe for right there. I'm back on the Deathwing, some Blade Guard vets next, also continuing with a hero a month from Silver Tower. Quality not great, as I wasn't very good when I started them eons ago. Nice. That sounds like a cool project. Didn't get it. Need more pictures of cows to aid understanding. Fair. I'll try and rustle up some pictures of cow. Zzz. I'm thinking about starting Smurfs. Send help. Nothing wrong with that. Ultramarines look amazing. I love Ultramarines. I like Hammers of Sigmar. How could I not like Ultramarines? Blue and gold. Just reversed. The Mortarion grime is still drying. Have you ever gotten stuck on thinking of a painting theme? I'm dipping into Nighthaunt and I am being wishy-washy on what I want to do. So far, I have a red theme and a blue theme. So I'm in the unenviable position of I just paint what the box art tells me to. I don't come up with my own schemes. When I do come up with my own schemes, I get full of fear and anxiety, because as soon as I put a video out on that, a lot of the time I feel like when I put out a video on how I paint my own thing in my own thing, it's entirely performative and a waste of time. Some people might like it and they might copy it, but ultimately it's like, hey, I painted this Blood Angel purple. And it's like, well, I'm not going to do that, so I'm not going to watch the video. So I don't do it. So I just do what the picture tells me to. But I love when everybody else does it. I'm really envious of people coming up with cool ideas. So the answer to that is technically yes. I get stuck on it immediately, so I don't do it. Disclaimer, how I paint Sylvaneth are still some of my favourite vids of yours. Well, thank you very much, Fake Street Spirit. Thank you. I'm glad that that one's useful. But that's the thing, is I have absolutely... Whenever I come up with my own thing, I have no reference material to fall back on. And so I am convinced, because I have very low self-esteem and confidence, that I'm going to make a terrible job of it, and therefore it'll look awful when it comes out. And then everyone will tell me that it looks awful, and I'll be like, I'll never be creative again. Welcome to the inside of my brain. Josh, need plastic Nazgul and Black Riders. Can you get GW on it, please? There is a plastic Nazgul. The one on Fellbeast is plastic, and Witch King of Angmar is plastic. And he can be built as the Witch King or a Ringwraith. Or are you talking about a full set of 9? You have such a vast workload that thinking time must be of a premium. That is correct, Fake Street Spirit. This is a nice song. Hi, sorry if this has been asked before and I've missed it, but will you paint the terrain for Tomb World? Maybe. I haven't figured out how to do it yet. So it's sat in a box. But yeah, no, I don't have the answer to that because I don't know how I would do it. Because it's got to be a scheme that means you can paint the entire box worth in a prompt manner because it's terrain. And I don't want to do a video where I paint a single wall. So yeah, I don't have the answer to that question. Because it's obnoxiously detailed, that terrain. I mean, ultimately, you can just paint it in the same colour as a Tomb World. But each wall has like 8 Necrons in it. So it's like... Do you see what I mean? Need to speak to family. Lurker reporting for duty. Alright, good luck. Painting that terrain to a box art standard will basically take weeks because each wall is really detailed. And I don't have weeks to paint it. Yeah, that's the fundamental problem with that terrain. It was the same stuff with the Gallo Dark, but I never... Well, I do actually have that stuff, but I bought it all and then never did anything with it because I suck. Don't know if you know this, but I'm really bad at my job. So with all that Mortarion grime applied to all of that power armor, as you can see, all the way around, what we're now going to do is going to go over the top of it with some Seraphim Sepia. It's going to bring in that warmth that we need. Now we don't need a ton of Seraphim Sepia here. Just enough to kind of tint it a little bit further down. There you go. I don't know whether to weather him immediately. Should we do that straight away, or should we do that at the end? I feel like we should do that at the end. Or at least do it, like, once he's battle ready. It does feel like it is quite important part of the scheme, though. Boop 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 boop. Legs. And so it was that the legs were coated in seraphim sepia, and there was much rejoicing. So much rejoicing. Looking good. Hello, Star Pilot. This model is delightful. It is pretty delightful. Curious question, given you paint after box art, do you always stick to GW paints? If not, do you have a preference on the various brands? Always stick to Games Workshop paints. Every paint is Citadel paint here on the channel. Occasionally we have a like a primer job that might be something different. It depends on what we're doing. So I've used a couple of Colour Forge primers in my time, but everything I do is Games Workshop Citadel paint. Hello, Star Pilot. I think I've already said hello to you, but hello, Star Pilot. Very fair. Easy to stick to the right colour. Well, yeah, and also one of the reasons I stick to Citadel paints is I feel like they have the broadest market. They are also obtainable from the place that you're buying the miniatures from. So the reason why we stick to Citadel paints is not only because I like them a lot. I like the breadth of colour. I like the way they work. I don't really have any issues with any of them, apart from maybe White Scar. That one's a bit of a pain in the ass. But the reason we stick to Citadel paints is that you open one of my videos, it's a Citadel miniature being painted by Citadel Paints, so you know where to go to get it all, and there's not going to be a sudden surprise most of the time. I'd say 99% of the time there's not going to be a sudden surprise. Oh, but by the way, to do this you need this paint from this brand over here, because you know, it is what it is. That's the vibe we go for. Because I don't want you to be caught out, basically. That's not to say that we haven't used them in the past. Like I did a Crypt Guard I did Vallejo Express Plus, which again, that had to be a mix because it was majority Vallejo Express, but with a couple of Citadel highlights thrown in there because I don't have a vast amount of Vallejo paints. So I had to use, like, Pallid Witch Flesh, I think, was one of what I had to use because I didn't have a Vallejo state equivalent. But yeah, look, there's a lot of things that when I was making my triumphant return to the hobby a few years ago, 8-9 years ago now. Anyway, I've told the story multiple times, but I was looking up how to paint an Ultramarines tank. I was looking up how to do that, and every video, not a single one of them had any of the stuff that I had to paint it. What I was looking for was somebody doing it with a brush, and there wasn't a single video. They were all whack out your airbrush from this company and use this paint from here, and it's like, no, I don't know how to do that, so I'm not going to do that. And all of the videos were like that, so I was just like, nah, that sucks. So obviously when it came around to making my channel, I was like, I don't want to catch people out that way. You know, it might be that you don't have a Citadel paint that I use, but at least you know where it is and how it's going to act and stuff. It's not going to be like, oh, do this, and then you go, oh, that paint's not available in my country. Great. Do you know what I mean? I'm very tired and disappointed I overslept, and I got no progress on building my Jade and Dwarf Warriors. Yeah, but you can turn it around, Star Pilot. I believe in you. I love that philosophy. Getting anything other than Citadel or Vallejo is really hard where I live, so that is one of the things I love with your channel. It's the same thing for me. Where I currently live right now, it's difficult to get my hands on some stuff. And so I'm like, well, I'm not going to use it because I have to order it. And then a lot of the times it's a risk. I'm very risk averse when it comes to painting. I don't know if that's coming across today. But so it's just like, hey, buy this thing, trust me, it's good. I'm like, okay, cool, but I haven't seen it and I don't know what it works and I don't know what it looks like. So I'm just like, nah, I'm not gonna trust it, because if I go into say like a local hobby store and I find something that I think looks okay, I can buy it and take it home and look at it. I don't have to rely on it being the thing that I want, because I can get so as an example, let's say there's two different types of brown paint that I want. And I know that Cygor Brown is how that works. But I don't know how Monument Hobbies Brown looks, right? It's kind of a better example would be Rhinox Hide versus Monument Hobbies Rhinox Hide. And I'm picking on them, I don't know why. But I know what Rhinox Hide looks like, so I can buy that Rhinox Hide, and I can take it home, and I can buy that new brown as well, and also take that home, and I can test it there and then. I can have a look at it there and then. What I don't want to have is a situation where I get a model, and I've got to paint it, so I order something that I've never used before, it turns up, and it's not the right thing. Because then I'm like, so then I'm delayed by another day to get the thing that I actually wanted in the first place, if you see what I mean. Basically. Basically, and I know you're saying just order the same two things at the same time, but then I'm just like, but why? Whilst I'm at home, I'm very sensible. When I'm in the shop, I am easily persuadable. I myself like experimenting with all sorts of paints. It's hard to get Citadel paints near where I live, so I'm ordering a lot of Army Painter and Vallejo paints. Perfect. That you're exactly perfect. Good. That's the way to do it. Because that is a degree of, that is part of the choice, right? Is, you know, what's available, what's nearby. Look, because I'm quite a narrow use case in this example. I have to make, because I've set myself these targets and boundaries in order to grow my YouTube channel in order to pay the rent, basically, right? I've set myself, I have to have 2 painting videos done in a week. So I can't rely on something that has a long shipping time that I can't get my hands on easily. And where I am currently, the easiest thing for me to do, if I needed to, is get on my bicycle to Warhammer in town and buy a replacement Citadel paint. That is the easiest thing for me to do if I needed to do it right now. Like, if I wanted to go tomorrow to go and get a new pot of Mortarion grime, I can go and get it. I can wake up and go and get it, and I can continue painting the next day. What I can't afford is long delays and gaps in my ability to create content, because I can't just miss a video, if you see what I mean. Because that's not conducive to you guys' experience. It's not conducive to the algorithm. It's not conducive to my workaholic lifestyle. So yeah, I use what I like, and what I like is Citadel, and it's easy for me to get my hands on, so I use it, and that's why we do it. And also contrast paint. I love contrast paint. Contrast paint's the best of all time. No regrets ever, because it turned me into a good painter. Before contrast paint came out, I was an all-right painter. When contrast paint came out, I think I became a good painter. I think is what I would say, is how I would evaluate my life. I found other YouTubers' tool/paint choices and guides to be too overwhelming when starting out. I latched onto your videos as I saw clear growth in them, but also an easier/clearer starting point. Thank you, Minion Mike. That's exactly what we were going for. If you have the confidence, that's the thing, right? Is if you have the confidence to buy Warhammer from the Warhammer store, and you leave the Warhammer store with the Citadel paints, and you've tried it out a bit, and then you go and like do something else, and you find a guide, one of my guys, and you go, ah, great, it's all from Games Workshop, then fantastic. That's exactly what I'm after. Because you've got a one-stop shop of where to go and get your stuff. It would be very different if there was a Army Painter bricks and mortar store, or Vallejo bricks and mortar store, or something like that. It's like the Star Wars Legion store, for example, like a Star Wars tabletop war game store. If that existed, and in there you walked in, and then there was the Star Wars Legion paints, or whatever was the thing, it would be like, yeah, okay, this makes sense. It's all together. Clearly, this is how it's meant to be done. That is the engagement path for a lot of people joining the hobby, and so I just like to be there at the beginning point for those people, so that they get it. And maybe they find one of my videos and they go, oh, this is really fun, this is really cool, my models look fantastic. And maybe they branch out, maybe they leave me behind, and maybe they go and find some ways else of doing it. That's perfect. But once you're in, I just want you guys to have a good time. Because I love painting miniatures. Painting miniatures is my favourite part. Second favourite part is playing, which is difficult, because you have to do building, priming, sometimes decals, and basing. And that bit all sucks for Josh. But that's just how I roll. That's why we do it. It's why the channel is the way the channel is. Miniature Yellow and Rotten Flesh Express paints are currently my loves. Your lovers. Ooh. Oh my. That is the romance For the ages. Yeah. Random question. Is there a reason why on your Seraphon videos sometimes you use Reikland Flesh Shade and sometimes you use Guilliman Flesh as the shade for the gold? Yeah, it depends on what the box art's saying in terms of how detailed the gold is, how big the gold is, and how much I intend to do to the gold afterwards. If I intend for the gold to be fully relayered, for example, then Guilliman Flesh is usually used because it's a much stronger shade. So it means that the recesses and stuff come out much more defined because we're going to shine them up, basically. Is typically the reason why I do it that way. Reikland Flesh isn't quite as strong, but if you're only going to highlight a gold detail with Reikland Flesh shade, then it's perfectly fine, because Guilliman Flesh would be too strong then, so the panel would just be too rosy. There's usually the logic. Of course, sometimes it goes out the window, and it depends how I'm feeling or how I'm looking at the box art. It depends on how weathered it is or how deep and rich that gold is. Ultimately, either works. It's up to you. If I do it in the video and you like it, do it that way. And if you don't, do it a different way. How do you move the base paints from the pot to the wet palette? Well, I don't use a wet palette. I use a dry palette, and I use my brush. So I use a medium layer brush to move the paint to a dry palette, then I thin it down with a little bit of water from my pot. Is how I do it. Do you use tap or distilled water? I use tap water. It's free. I just wish we had some big hobby shops like you in the UK. We have a small one where I live, but to get anything big or a Warhammer store, that is like 9 hours away by car. Yeah, that's a shame. Maybe you should open one. Yes. Lies. Second favourite part is picking the next box for the pile of grey shame. I won't know the true extent of my pile of shame until we move. And I think I'm going to be horrified by what I discover. What primer in the airbrush do you use? None, because I don't use an airbrush. And you know this, Edward. Anyone got any more? I'm enjoying the agony aunt. I stopped applying Seraphim Sepia because I saw all the big questions. I'm going to apply a little bit more. See if we can ratchet a few more up. Need to do his torso. I did the legs, just didn't do the body. Get on there. Boo, boo, doo, doo, doo. I'm very tired today. I'm not sure why. I slept really well. It's probably residual exhaustion from painting all those Hellsmiths of Hashut. Spot quiz. Which one of those do you want to see first? As I mentioned before, we do have all of them on the way. So it's your choices: Infernal Cohort, War Despot, Tormentor Bombard, Dominator Engine. I'll be editing one up tomorrow, and one will come out tomorrow. Oh, the arms. Helps if we paint the arms. Might try and finish Gandalf the White tonight as well, actually. I have decided I am going to highlight him with some White Scar. Decided it last night after many, many thoughts. Much time was spent. I'm still unsure, but I was like, do you know what? Just a little bit of White Scar here and there. It's going to make him real pop. Then we've got to figure out how to paint Pippin, but, you know. That should be easy enough. It's only Pippin. Can't wait for you to paint Lady Malice. She looks like she'll be a fun miniature to paint. That's for sure. I know you're not fond of the building aspect, but is there any conversion you would want to try to do? I would want to try to make a Yndrasta in the same style as the box of the book art. That would be fun. And also a much nicer Celestant Prime. However, I'm convinced eventually we will get a nicer Celestant Prime, and therefore I will feel silly by doing such a thing. It's like a lot of people used to ask me why I wouldn't do converted Sanguinary Guard, and I'm like, because they're going to come out with a plastic version. And I will be furious if I do my own version and they go, here's some new plastic Sanguinary Guard. I'm like, great. Do you know what I mean? I may not have been following your recent videos, but have you plans to paint more of the new models they put out in recent times, or already done so? I've done a lot of the recent things, I think. And I do as much as I possibly can. Bullman. Ah, you want the Dominator engine. Tormentor Bombard. Infernal Cohort. Now we just need someone to say War Despot. And then it's all four at once. I do actually have a genuine question. You're probably going to ignore this now. Am I? Instead of the traditional red for Slaves to Darkness, what colours would you use to make it more Zinch? I mean, Thousand Suns are a good place to start. Looking at them, it'd be things like Achillean Green. If you want it to be like really bright, stuff like Talasar Blue and stuff like that going in there. I'm assuming you mean over like the cloaks and things. The interesting thing with them is, I feel like the Slaves to Darkness models are so coded towards undivided to being silver or black, basically. Isn't it just designed that way? So much of it feels like, kind of like, would you call it pig metal? Is that a thing? Pig iron? Is that a thing? I feel like I've heard that term and I'm not using it correctly. Either way, yeah. I mean, using stuff like Achillean Green moves it definitely towards Zinch. Because that's generally what we use on the Thousand Suns stuff, which is obviously Zinchian in its effort. If I was to paint a set of Chaos Warriors as that, I would probably do Achillean Green for all of the armor, and I would use some form of burgundy for the cloaks and stuff. But that's only because that's how I would do it. It might be that you just still want to do it silver or black, and then just add a Zinchian element. In which case, doing something like just a bright blue robe really works. A really good resource for that, I think, again, just sending you links to all my own videos, would be to look at stuff like the Keeper Secrets? No, Lord of Change. Because there's some really good blue recipes in that, which obviously are very Zinchian. I eventually will get around to do Kairos Fate Weaver, but I just haven't had the time or the brain power to do it. But that's probably how I would do it. I would just paint them as Thousand Suns. Nurglings, please. Okay. What should I paint for my primed pile? Krieger Death Riders, Cruel Boys, or Underworld's Gobbos? I would say Underworld's Gobbos. Pig Iron is like cheap iron. Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. War Despot. Right, there you go. So that's all 4 of the Hellsmiths of Hashut videos. Go live tomorrow. So you'll see 1 of them, and 3 of them won't get viewed by anyone. Alright, fine. I'll make the decision, because there's not a clear one. I want to go with the Shaiish faction of Hellsmiths, but what would a decent purple colour to tint Astro Granite to give it some Shaiish flavour? Druchii Violet. Do some Druchii Violet over it. That'll do you. That'll do nicely, I reckon. Just as a tint. If you wanted to go full purple, obviously you want to move towards like a much stronger purple. But Druchii Violet over the top of thing. I mean, I just, on my Hellsmiths, I use Targor Raidshade, and it looks like that. It's got a slight reddish tint to it over the top of the Astro Granite. Could probably get away with dry brushing that very soon. It's not quite fully dry. It's clearly the bull, Josh. Why? I don't know. Because, yeah, I mean, the Dominator engine is the most impressive model out of the set. It is the biggest and chunkiest model in there. It's not a bad one to start with. Thank you, Lord Celestant of Contrast. We're still going to go with the black and gold, just change their cloaks, etc. Yeah, I mean, you could literally do Talasar Blue followed by Ultramarines Blue. Or Achillean Green. And then, if you need to, glaze it with Thousand Suns Blue to fix it. Yeah, I honestly recommend watching the Scarab Occult Terminators video I did. You'll have some stuff in there for sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's how I would do it. Well, something just fell on the ground. I have no idea what. What would you say would work for the Total War Warhammer 3 Chaos Dwarf Rebels colours? I have no idea. Total War Warhammer 3 Chaos Dwarf Rebels. There are no good pictures available. I have no idea what I'm looking for. I don't know what colour they are. It's just showing me pictures of Chaos Dwarves. I'm like, cool. You'll have to tell me what colour they are. Is there anything upcoming you are truly excited for in either AOS or 40k? No. No, not really. Only because I don't know what's coming. You know, I don't have a good enough view of the future. So it's just like, you know, yeah. There are green, grey, and bronze. I can drop their emblem in Discord if needed. Green, grey, and bronze. That sounds like a horrible colour scheme. Is it this sort of exploding star with a triangle in it? Is that the emblem? Do you think we'll get a new Vandus, considering we've had so many Calgars? I'd have thought if one was going to come, it might have happened with the Stormcast range, but it didn't. So we'll have to wait until there's a narrative campaign to see if it happens. I don't know. Yeah, that was the emblem I was looking at. Yeah, I don't know what it looks like on the units. But that green, I would say, is... Well, I would say that that's black. So Black Legion. I would say that's gold, so Retributor armor shaded probably with some brown. Maybe Agrax Earthshade. And that green looks like Corandrus green, or to me. Would be those three colours if I was painting something to look like that. That would be what I would do. You excited for Helm Hammerhand with his hammer in his hand? Yeah, I'd like to get my hands on that one. But yeah. What armies do you mainly play? Consistently recently it's been Stormcast Eternals. Would be what I have played the most of in recent memory. Yeah. Historically it's been a smorgasbord of things. For 40k wise, Blood Angels, Chaos Demons, Custodes. That was a vibe. Imperial Guard, Admech. That was a time as well when I was doing that. Imperial Knights as well. Stormcast wise, Sigmar wise, it's been Stormcast Eternals, Sylvaneth, Chaos, Saves to Darkness. Flesh Eater Courts, yeah, a real variation. One thing I would very much like to be able to do is have all of my models in one place where I can see what I have, where the gaps are, and what I need to fill and finish, because I don't have that right now. I have these two cabinets, but there's easily 2,500, possibly 3,000 painted models in this house, and a lot of it's very incoherent. Like, for example, in this cabinet here, back there behind thingy, you can see just there, that's Zarek, the Silent King. We also have the Void Dragon is really deep in there in the corner, and there's various bits of Necrons going on in there. There's this Tyranids collection here. I don't know how many points it is, and I don't know what I would need to do to turn it into 2,000 points, but I don't think it's very far off. Like, I think I have the models. Like, I've got a Pyrovore, a Lictor, 10 Gene Stealers, 10, I want to say Hormagaunts, and I've got a Hive Tyrant with wings as well that I could build and paint. But I don't know if that's a good army, because I've just got everything that I've ever painted on the channel. For example, it's there in that box there. My Auric War Clans, I'd like to finish them. I'd like to finish up Cruel Boys and Ard Boys, what are they called? Iron Jaws. I'd like to finish them to the point of where I could actually use them as destruction armies. The future of one of the things we want to do, so one of the things I really want to do when we move, is has the space to be able to film gaming content, battle reports and that kind of thing. To be able to do that sort of content, like the tactical stuff and all this kind of thing. And in order to do that, we need a good variation of armies to be able to use them and do them. So, like, I've got like 15 spearheads now across a wide variety of things. So we could do loads of spearhead content. But we don't have enough non-spearheads. Do I need to finish those out? Like, my Soulblight Gravelords need finishing. Leagues of Votan probably need finishing, and this, that, and the other. Yeah, there's just tons and tons of stuff. For me, it's Mumak Monday. Nice. Lord of the Rings as well. I need to get some coherent Lord of the Rings armies finished. At the moment, I don't have that. I just have a hodgepodge of stuff. So yeah, we'll get around to it. Are you planning a break or some holidays in the future of your channel? No, Lisa 3000. They happen when they happen. If I disappeared for 2 weeks and there was no content, you'd all forget who I was. I'd come back like, here's a video. 6 people watched it. Good. Good. We start again. Any chance you will come out with a Contrast Plus painting video for the Tomb World scenery? No, not at the moment, Nick Burke. We haven't done it. I haven't, like I said, I haven't come up with a way to paint it. That isn't going to take 4 million years to finish the set, so I haven't done it. Please hook up with Mr. Joe and do some MESBG, pretty please. I've got to convince him to do it. He was paid. He was paid to do MESBG, was he? Was he paid for it? Thoughts on the new Calgar and Friends quickest glow up ever? Some of it's cool, some of it's fine. It's all redesigns, so I don't care. We wouldn't forget you. Where else would we get this unique live streaming experience? You know for a fact this is about as generic a live streaming experience as it's possible to be. Joe was also paid to cosplay as a fire slayer. And yeah, he did it for 10 minutes. Was it 10 minutes? 20 minutes? Half an hour? Are you feeling okay today? Yeah, I'm okay. I'm a little bit tired. There was a bit of a spanner in the works today as well because the weather here has been horrible. It's been the weather here has been interesting, right? Because basically I needed to prime some stuff this morning, and when I got up, it was really windy, but the sun was out, right? And then the sun went away, and then it was raining, and it's done that all day. So it's either prime in the rain or prime in the wind. Basically, it's either a case of ruin the model or ruin my face. Spray into the wind. So yeah, I'm like, oh. Tomorrow is going to be an interesting one. But yeah. It's not been the most productive of days, but we had an incredibly productive week last week, so it's fine, I think, to take a little bit of a step back. But hey, look at this. Look at how good this armor looks. It's nice, isn't it? Because then we're going to cover it in brown. And by brown, I mean grubbiness. The fun thing as well with this is actually, when it comes to highlighting, there isn't any to do. Because if you look, like, there's mild bits of edging here and here, but the rest of it's all encased in trim. So actually, realistically, for a clean Mortarion armor, that's done. Doesn't need any more. You just got to do all the metallic trim, of which there is a metric ton of it. And the interesting thing as well with him is that there isn't any. If you look at for example, behind the leg, that's chainmail. So it's going to be interesting to see if that provides enough of a juxtaposition between the brightness of the plates and the darkness of the recesses. Because normally it works really well when it's black, right? But it's not black there. That's chainmail, so that's going to be a metallic. So I don't know if it's going to look a bit. It's not going to be. I don't know if it's going to be particularly. I don't know if it's going to have that pop that you perhaps necessarily get from a Space Marine character, really, but we will see. Because like I said earlier, the other problem with this one is that the cloak is white. So it's basically this colour but shaded with Mortarion Grime, which is what we're going to do anyway, but it's not particularly exciting colour palette. And like his shoulders are the same thing. I thought the shoulders were green, but they're not. They're the same colour as the cloak. So he's an interesting one. I haven't really studied this picture very long. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. See how he comes out. It's going to be an interesting one, that's for sure. But there we go. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it is 7:20. We're probably going to just wrap things up there. I'm going to go and speak to Alice, have some dinner, and then I'll come back and probably finish the Tormentor Bombard and then do a little bit more on Mortarion or on Gandalf the White, or try and get them both done at the same time, except I need an extra pair of hands. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Hope you enjoyed yourselves, and we will be back tomorrow with a painting video, one of the Hellsmiths of Hashut videos, and we'll be back on Wednesday with something. I don't know what. Maybe we'll finally be painting horses by then. We shall see. But yeah, I hope you have a great week if I don't speak to you again, and I'll see you all in the next one. Love you, chat. Bye for now. Ta-da! See ya!